everyone. Today I would be giving you some information on requirement gathering, elicitation, and analysis. So there are, certain occasions when people say that requirement gathering is nothing but requirement elicitation. But actually, there is a little, a subtle difference between the two processes. So we would be looking at, the difference between requirement gathering and requirement elicitation, and also how it differs from requirement analysis. So let's get into it. So to start off, let us, look at the difference between requirement gathering and elicitation. So if you look at the literal meaning of gathering, it has to do with something to collect or gather. And elicitation is something that is bringing out. Okay, so from this you can understand that gathering is something that you can do when there is something already available for which you are gathering. And when you look at elicitation, when you say bringing out, it means that something is hidden and you're drawing or you're bringing it out. Okay, so that's the very basic difference between the two. So when you look at requirement gathering, it is done when customers and stakeholders, they know what they want. Okay, so it's not always that the customers, they know what they want, but sometimes they at least have, a very high level understanding of what's supposed to be, built. Let's say a customer comes in, they are running a restaurant, and they say that they have certain, pain points in, capturing the orders and delivering orders. So they say that they want an application, where people can, manage the orders, and also, the delivery people also should be able to manage the orders and delivery. So at least they know that. But then when you look on the other end, there are some customers, okay, who are not sure what they need. Okay, like you have people in businesses, they say I'm having these pain points, but still I don't know like what is the exact solution that I am, in need of. So at that time, when customers at least know what they want, you would find yourself gathering those requirements. But when you look on the other end, when customers are not very sure of what they want, and you have to, drill in and get out answers from them, then that particular process is known as requirement elicitation. The next difference is the process does not require many questions. Okay, so when I say many questions, it's in the sense the questions that you have to, interrogate the customer, or you have to, keep drilling down in detail to find out exactly what is needed. Those type of in-depth questions are actually not required much in the gathering process. But when you look at the requirement elicitation process, this process requires excellent questioning skills. Okay, so there's always, a need for asking the right questions. Now anyone can ask questions, but asking the right questions in order to bring out, okay, the needs of the customers is something that is required in the elicitation process. The next one is the main problem and the pain points are obvious and straightforward. Okay, so when the problem statement, or the requirements are straightforward, then the process that you get involved is the requirement gathering process. For example, there are some situations where you would be provided with a document in hand, and they say go through this, we have given you the list of whatever is the we require of the system to perform. At that time, almost a set of requirements are already handed over to you. So that process, when you go through that document, it's something like requirement gathering. Okay, so it's straightforward, you're just gathering these requirements out. But when you look at the requirement elicitation, the main problem and the customer's pain points are not clear and must be identified smartly. So sorry, this is not pain points, it's pain points. Okay, so the it's so when I said in elicitation, these pain points and the problem, it's not clear. So as I said, you have to keep asking the questions, you need to keep uh, drilling down those questions to the customer, so that they be able to provide answers by which you'll be able to articulate, and you'll be able to process and find out what are the actual requirements. Now this method is quite easy and simple when comparing it to the elicitation. Okay, because if someone, imagine you going I can give you a very real life example, not related to the project, but very basic. Let's say you're going out, okay, and your family members or some friends say that they are hungry and they would like to have either a burger or they would like to have some milkshake or something, okay. So they tell you what is needed and you have the requirement in hand. All you just have to, they say they are hungry and you say, okay, what do you want to have? And then they say, okay, I want to have a burger or I want to have a milkshake. So this is something like requirement gathering. You're gathering the requirement what you have to do. But when you look at elicitation, let's say someone calls and says you're hungry, but I don't know actually what to eat. At that time, you need to drill down. You have to ask them, okay, what would you like to eat? Would you like to have something, light, or would you like to have something heavy? Then they say, no, something light. Then you say, okay, what would you like to have? Like, is it some snacks or is it any drink? Then they say, okay, maybe some, refreshing drink will be good. Then again, if you still, that's not enough, you have to find out, okay, do you want something like a cold coffee or you want milkshakes or you want some juices or soda. So let's say, okay, maybe a soda should be good, but then again you need to find out, okay, is it like what flavor you want? So then they say, okay, lemon should be good. Okay, is it sweet or salt? So this is the level of which you have to, drill down in order to find out exactly what the customer requires. So overall, on a high level, requirement gathering is little more less complex than the elicitation process. The next one is, it must be done before elicitation. Now, why we say this is, always when you go and have a conversation with the customer or the clients, you first have to have a background knowledge. Okay, imagine I'm coming to you and your business is something that I don't have exposure to. So first, before coming and asking questions to you, first I need to know exactly what is the business, what is a base understanding of what actually the business is about, what are the high level processes involved. So you need to do a background study first. So only after gathering some information, okay, and high level requirements, only then you'll be able to move on to elicitation. So usually in requirement gathering, you'll gather the requirements that the clients or customers give to you. After that, you'll put it down, you'll piece it out, you'll adjust everything, and you it's something like a puzzle. So you'll put the pieces and you'll try to adjust everything with what pieces you have, and the pieces that are missing, that's where you have to drill down. So to find out the missing pieces, to close those gaps, you'll go in for requirement elicitation. So that's why sometimes they say elicitation is after requirement gathering, but sometimes elicitation can be the very first step that you do, but most scenarios it's after requirement gathering. The next difference is, this is used to draw the big picture. So as I said, first to get the big picture, you gather first all the requirements that come in hand, after which you find the missing gaps, and then you go to the requirement elicitation to drill down and ask questions that you're able to fix those particular loopholes. Okay, so that is what the requirement elicitation actually helps you to solve. So if you look at all of us, we would have gone in and we would have checked out a lot of job descriptions for some company, and you would have seen in the description they would have given you a lot of requirements of the what's needed of you, the skill sets. So usually when you go in for requirement gathering, when people are very specific on you performing requirement gathering, this would be some of the uh, things that they would mention. So this position will be responsible for translating business requirements into software requirements and specifications. So you're just translating. So the given business requirements, you're translating into the set of software requirements and the specifications. That is, you're translating it and giving it to the development team. Provide subject matter expertise for requirement gathering process. So during the process, you need to act as the SME and gather the requirements. So this is about the requirement gathering. So whenever you have certain descriptions like this, you can be sure that they are more focused on requirement gathering. But look at these set of skill sets. 4+ years of experience in requirements elicitation through the use of application design sessions, interviews, document analysis, requirements workshops, surveys, site visits, business process descriptions, use cases, scenarios, business analysis, competitive product analysis, task workflow analysis, etc., etc. So when all these come in hand, make sure all these are, the different techniques that are used to actually do requirement elicitation, to ask customers what they need, to identify hidden requirements. All this is something that has to be done, which I'll be taking a separate video. So if you see all these skill sets, you can be very sure that it's all related to requirement elicitation, and you should be having high level of experience, or either the skills to ask the right questions, and to bring out the hidden requirements. So that's what is required of you when these skills are posted. So I hope you got a little understanding of the difference between gathering and elicitation. So gathering is collecting requirements, okay, at a high level. Or when requirements are out there, you just gather it up. Requirement elicitation is something that is very core for a business analyst or product analyst, because that's where your skill sets come in place, where you're able to you know um, empathize with the customer, you're able to understand their pain points, you're able to drill down, you're able to understand what actually they need, and you're able to really bring out the requirements. So that's something that every business analyst needs to have as a skill. So moving on to requirement analysis. So I've put it as how over here. So requirement analysis always focuses on how, the how part of the product development or project development. Whereas the requirement gathering and elicitation is mostly about all the W's. So where, what, how, why. Okay, all these are the focus areas for the requirement gathering and elicitation. Whereas when you look at the analysis part, it's totally on how, okay, how things are going to be done. So mostly that's how the analysis is done. And if you see here, this is done within the business team, okay, maybe it's the business analyst, the technical team, SMEs, etc., while the requirement gathering and elicitation is between the customers and the business analyst and the internal team. So gathering and elicitation is between customers and the business analysts and the other members involved in that particular discussion. Whereas the analysis part is done wholly, not always the clients and customers will be involved in the analysis part. It will be it will be on the business analyst side, and plus maybe when it's related to any technical aspects, you'll be finding the technical team pitching in for the analysis. So that's how the analysis work. So requirement analysis consists of those tasks that involve determining the needs or conditions or acceptance criteria for a new or altered product or project. Okay, so you're analyzing what needs to, first, what are the needs, then if this is in place, what are all the different conditions only, okay, that should exist, and also what are all the, if this particular feature or this requirement is supposed to be accepted, what will be the different criterias. So all this is something that takes place in the requirement analysis phase. So if you see some of the checklists, it's like the understanding and analyzing the business value of that requirement or that feature. Conflicting requirements. Now someone would have given you a requirement, but that requirement might be conflicting with new requirements or with the existing requirements. So always you need to make sure that the requirement fits into place, okay, and it does not impact the entire other built or existing set of requirements. Then you need to analyze the impacts, okay, it's the logical impacts. If logically anything is this requirement is going to impact the system. Functional, okay, if there are going to be any functional impacts, technical impacts, impacts related to the user interface. Will it impact the end users, okay, the way the end users are going to receive this particular requirement, or will it be a drastic impact on them? Will there be any impact on the hardware? So all these impacts also need to be analyzed during the requirement analysis phase. Then conditions. So for that particular requirement, what are all the preconditions and post conditions? What are all the different business rules that need to be captured? What are all the different validations that need to be done? So all this will be analyzed, and also what are the different processes and the data identifications also done. So in order for a particular requirement or a feature, there might be a little tweaking of processes, or for that particular requirement or feature you might need data. So you need to understand where the data comes from, what data comes. all these are different, aspects and checklists for requirement analysis. So always it's first the requirement gathering and elicitation that takes place, followed by the analysis. So I hope you got an understanding of the difference between requirement gathering, elicitation and analysis, and don't ever get confused between these three, especially between requirement gathering and elicitation. And try to enhance your skills in requirement elicitation, because that's very core for a business analyst or product analyst. So I hope this video was informative to you, and if you liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe to this channel, and also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.